And welcome back to another episode of the Geek Centurions. Me, your boy Eli.
It's me, Joe.
And we're here to talk about Shazam! Fury of the Gods, the recent DC film. I think the first one to come out this year, right?
Is it? I think it might be the only one to come out this year, right?
Maybe. We'll do that. It'll age.
Well, we'll circle back to it.
Yeah, we'll circle back to it. But yeah, so we recently just saw the film, and we're gonna be talking about it here on today's episode. The way we tend to do it is that we give a quick little synopsis, then we give our own thoughts. Continue on through that discussion, and then give our rating at the end. That's how usually it happens. So, Shazam! Fear the Gods, sequel to the first Shazam movie, picks up 2 years, I want to say, after the first one?
Yeah, a bit of time.
Because everyone grows up significantly.
Yeah, especially, Billy Baxton, he's supposed to be 18 at this point, or about to be 18.
Yeah.
So, yeah, last time we checked. Because the first Shazam movie came out in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So, really, it's been like a couple years, but, I mean, like...
Feels a lot longer.
Yeah, it feels a bit longer, and also, I'm pretty sure they planned it to come out, like, maybe last year or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least maybe, like... Because I remember them, like, talking about Shazam 2
yeah.
for a while ago, you know?
Sadly, he is not going up against Black Adam like many of us hoped he would.
Yeah, that was sort of the idea, right? That he would be facing off Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Black Adam.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously that didn't happen, and it's just
it did not.
It's a different plot now. You know,
very much a different plot. I think the villains are supposed to be original characters, not actual characters from the comics. So
but they are still based in Greek lore, which is all part of like Shazam stuff. Kind of.
Shazam has a lot of like different things going on. Hence the name Shazam, because it's an acronym.
About various.
Yeah, Wisdom Solomon, Strength of Hercules, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
This is in there too. And so we're picking up where we left off 2 years ago. The Shazam family, which is something that I'll say this is about the first one. I really enjoyed that first movie.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it. I love the theme. I love the idea of the found family, of this sort of what's the word I'm looking for?
Foster family.
Yeah, the idea of the foster family and just how they all come together. Very loving, but Billy's very much what's the word I'm looking for? Not mean spirited, but like
a little lost.
Yeah, he's very much like in a very like dark part of his life. He only wants to see his mom. He has a hard time believing it. His mom left him, and here's a loving family who's willing to take him in, and it's not until he realizes what he has is that what he's willing to fight for, right? Because the big twist about that movie was like, it's a really good twist. I'm gonna add that. It's that Billy really wanted to see his mom. He finds her, learns that they didn't get lost. He didn't lose her. She didn't lose him. That she kind of like neglected him.
Intentionally left him.
He intentionally left him, which is pretty much a dick move.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's also very understanding where she's coming from, and at the same time, like the way it's like framed. Because I always liked this, the idea of this frame, which was when I went back to see it a bit. It's that from Billy's perspective, it was all sunshine and rainbows, but in reality, it wasn't as.
Yeah, you get to see it from the mom's perspective, and it's like, okay, no.
No, it's.
I think I remember saying that whole twist was probably way darker than anything DC has ever done.
Yeah, yeah.
It's such a damn what the kind of moment.
It's almost real.
Yeah, it's just one of the like Jesus.
Yeah, it's a mother neglecting a child, and from the child's perspective, it's like because it's a kid, he doesn't understand like what the fuck is going on, right?
Yeah.
But for the parents, like no, it's this, but you don't know like from my perspective why that kid like looks at it in a certain way, so on and so forth, because he doesn't know, rose-colored glasses kind of shit, and now in this film and in the beginning of the film, we talk a little bit about that, and we'll explore a bit more as we talk about, because now Billy has found his family and he's trying to keep it together with even though there's like opposing force on its way. So that's essentially the idea of Shazam 2, especially when it's fighting against other Greek gods. The daughters of Atlas, who again is another name of part of the acronym of Shazam. Yeah, it was the Wisdom of Solomon, Strength of Hercules.
I think the Endurance of Atlas,
Yeah,
or something. I don't know.
something like that. But that's basically the plot of this movie.
Yeah, they are wanting vengeance against the being locked away and stuff, and how Shazam's whole power set revolves around the powers of various other godlike beings and other that sort of thing. It's like no, these powers are ours and sort of thing. You can't you don't deserve it kind of thing, and that's sort of the conflict. Like they're gonna they're out there trying to get Shazam and the whole Shazam family, and they're just trying to stick together, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's sort of the decent plot, and I guess we'll get on to our like little 1 minute like recap.
Yeah, that's how we tend to do it. With a quick recap before we can of our thoughts on the film, and then we'll continue on with our discussion of it. So Joe, you start us off in your 1 minute. Go. All
right. So Shazam: Fury of the Gods, I think, is a very good, solid DC film. I think it has a lot to offer. It has some solid comedy, some good action, and overall, I think it's a very enjoyable experience in the theater. There are a little bit of some plot threads that come in every now and again that sort of feel a little like either resolved too quickly or just kind of like just added in and just thrown in for no reason. Also, I think the ending is a little controversial in terms of how it just kind of like magics everything back to the way it kind of is, or like magically sort of fixes a lot of things that happen throughout the plot. But overall, I think it's still an emotional sort of a story with Billy and his family, and sort of having to sort of stick together and that sort of thing. And I think it's a solid sequel.
All right, that's good. You had 2 seconds to spare, and you didn't use them at all. All right, so for me, Shazam: Fury of the Gods, for me, is a very solid film. A lot of enjoyable moments, a lot of fun to be had, which is kind of what I expected Shazam to be, especially coming from the first one, which I really did enjoy. And while this one I feel doesn't like measure up to that, it's still pretty much serviceable. A lot of the characters continue on what they made them strong. Although I do feel like it's missing sort of hint of that familial bonding that was so integral in the first film that needed to be in this film. That being said, the relationship between certain characters, the certain dynamic is still strong, even in this film. Just wish a little bit more of that. Though, while I did like some of the villains, I feel like some of them were very lacking and some of them needed a bit more work. That being said, I do think Shazam: Fury of the Gods is a very decent sequel. Nothing much to talk about. Nothing much to complain about.
All right.
Yeah. So, where do you want to start in our conversation about this movie, Jay?
I probably like. I think something you mentioned. Actually, the villains are interesting. Because I think they offer an interesting sort of dynamic, I guess. Because there are 3 of them, 3 daughters. It's not that much of I guess it's not a huge spoiler. I'm pretty sure some of the marketing has been only showing like 2 of the sisters. Like they're very like older women. It's Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu. Which I mean, I will admit, Helen Mirren definitely acts the shit out of this movie.
Oh yeah, no, she's probably the best one out of the 3. And like, there's that scene. I think it's been going around a bit. It's where she's reading a letter, and it's the funniest thing ever. The setup is fine, and the way she delivers it, only Helen Mirren can do that.
Yeah, it's like it's so interesting to see her. Like, I think what makes it work is that her acting makes it like she's very serious about everything. So when stuff like this sort of happens, she's sort of it's a fun dynamic of like her like actually being serious and stuff, but then like there's some goofy shenanigans, I guess, and it's sort of like it's very playful comedy, and I think as well as that her motivations are interesting, and I mean as well as all the 3 sisters. Although I think Lucy Liu's character, I think is the one I think you were talking about in terms of like just kind of being a little flat.
Yeah, and it's not her. I think it's just like the way that she was written to be in this film is a very like had a lot of lacking. She's very one note. right? Because there are times where I'm like, oh yeah, no, she's cool, but I think it's just the way her direction was a little more wanting. There wasn't enough conflict with her to involve with the stuff that was going on.
Yeah, I think because she's very out of all the three sisters, she's the more aggressive one out of all of them. She has the most like, I guess, anger towards all the stuff that's happened to her and her family or whatever. Meanwhile, like the other two sisters are very more.
No, this is the plan. This is where we're gonna go.
Yeah, like, hey, listen, don't let vengeance continue, kind of thing. We have a plan. We're sticking to it. Let's just get these powers back. Do that all sort of thing. Let's revitalize our world, kind of thing. But yeah, no, I think you are hinting at like the a bit of the interesting thing about those villains. Is that they do sort of like, you understand a little bit of their motivations, but at the same time, there doesn't seem like a whole lot, like they don't have a whole lot of interaction with the Shazam family when you really think about it throughout the film.
No.
They sort of pop in, they do some stuff, and I think there's only maybe one scene. I mean, I think you kind of have seen it in trailers, I think, where it's Shazam and because here's they all have Greek names. I just don't remember their names. But it's Helen Mirren's character. They're just sitting at like this little diner, but they're having a conversation basically of like, hey, listen, I understand, aren't you being a little too crazy about this?
And she's like, oh, you think my situation is crazy? Well, let me give you a hypothetical. And he's like, oh, okay, no, she's okay, fair enough.
Oh, okay, yep, you're serious about this. Okay, all right, you are terrifying, madam.
like I think I made the joke about it when we left the theater. It's like, man, she brought some Shakespearean acting to this movie.
Yeah, it weirdly works. Yeah, in her perspective as being the leader of the sisters and stuff. But yeah, I think something else to sort of I guess talk about, because on the whole, yeah, I think I agree with you. Like the villains, I think are fine, but I can understand, like, they are a little, I wouldn't say underdeveloped. It's just that they have an interesting dynamic that I kind of just would like to see maybe explored a bit more.
Yeah, that's kind of like I feel for most of the aspects of the movie, because like, so to continue on to that idea that maybe there could have been a little more here and there. Billy's whole issue with a family, not saying like, at the end of the first movie, he finds his family.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's a little like distant with certain characters. I'm not gonna say who, but when you see the movie, you know where her like the first one ended. You kind of get why, and it's addressed, but it's never like continued on. It's like, oh, I thought we were gonna do something with that because you set it up earlier. It gets resolved, but it's like really quick, really fast, like. Like you said, it's like almost like, well, why were we here for? Right? Because it's at the end of the movie that issue is resolved, but I don't think we worked our way to that resolution. It just happened. And there's like again, I'm not gonna go that deep into it, but once you see it, you'll know, and if you know, you know. I think that would have been like a great thing to see, especially considering Billy's story arc in that first one, and seeing him sort of come into terms with that sort of acknowledgement for the end, especially considering like everything that's been going on that's happened to Billy, especially not only in this movie but also in the past.
Yeah, I mean, there are some certain like things. I think with Billy's character in general, where it's like, because there is like a little plot thread concerning the parents that I find interesting, that like they bring it up a little bit in the beginning, but they don't really, it doesn't really factor in, and it's sort of resolved at sort of towards the climax of the movie. But it's, it feels like, okay, there could have been more of this,
Yeah, and we're talking about sort of like this. It's like two specific scenes. The one you're talking about and the one I'm talking about. They're so correlated together that it just sort of resolved itself by the end, and it's just like, wait, but why? I feel like you resolved one aspect of it, but not the other aspect.
Yeah, I think I see what you mean by that.
Because like, throughout, especially in this movie, Billy has a sort of an issue with, abandonment. Because of course he would. He got abandoned by his mother in a very like emotional scene that we both talked about, like feeling a little too real, especially coming from a superhero movie about a kid becoming an adult, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, I can see where this abandonment issue is, but there's never really a moment where like he has to deal with it, especially with like especially with the other characters.
Yeah, because there are like it's mentioned, and I think that's supposed to be his character art in this movie of like, hey, listen, I don't want my family to abandon me. We should be all together. Like it's like their sort of motto almost. Like, hey, listen, we can't be going out superheroing by ourselves. It's all or none. Yeah, so so I think that sort of kind of is like the that sort of whole thing with Billy's character. I think in this arc is like, hey, listen, I don't want to be abandoned, so we should all be doing superhero stuff together. We're a team, we're a group, that sort of thing. But I don't think it really sort of like does that much. Like I don't think, because I mean there is a moment where there is a bit of separation between some of the group, but I feel like Billy doesn't really like. You would think he'd be way more distraught and like trying to like be more panicky, but I guess it's just sort of how it is sometimes with how they done Shazam's character about being a little lighthearted and like jokey all the time, So I don't know necessarily that's sort of like the reason why it feels off, but at the same time, it feels like it's just something like obviously they're trying to set up this sort of like thing of like, oh, I don't want anybody to be banned. I mean, like there's a whole little side plot with the sister, like I think the oldest one, who's like wanting to go off to college, but I think Billy sort of like kind of like,
no, don't leave me.
Yeah, kind of like that. But we don't really see that with anything else with like any other family members. Like it's only her and like one other person. Like you don't see that with the little black girl or the Asian kid or any of them. Like there is that, like there's a whole, like there are some like certain like aspects of like, oh, this is happening and that's happening, and we don't want Billy's turning 18, which means he's gonna be phased out of that foster care system, so like he might not be taken care of by his parents anymore. So that's a huge thing, and I think that's sort of like, it feels like it's supposed to be more important than it actually is, because
it's supposed to be dealing with his issues, but it's not. But we're not going anywhere with it.
Yeah, because I think we're focusing a lot of time on just sort of the overarching plot of, hey, the daughters of Atlas are coming in, they're wrecking shop, all that sort of thing.
And sort of, I think that's kind of like the problem I have with this movie. It's that there's a lot of like ideas that I'm totally down for, and really, would continue the sort of like story arc that Billy goes through, but it's never really utilized well, especially when considering because the foster parents. The foster parents, they were kind of there in the first movie, and then for a second I was like, okay, maybe they're gonna expand on that, because they expanded on Billy being very much close with his foster siblings, but then like it doesn't lead anywhere. Because like they acknowledge something about them, and it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. What are we gonna do with that? Oh, okay, that's solved. Huh? Okay, we don't have to worry about it. All right, I guess we'll just move on. but yeah, no. Even the daughters of Atlas, while as much as I enjoyed some of them, they felt a little aimless sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of how we mentioned a little earlier. They do have a little bit of conflict, a little bit with themselves, but even then, I guess like it's kind of convenient, I guess, how they get like sort of the last thing they need in their final stage of the plan by just doing some like, I guess, 4D chess kind of.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, it's interesting how they do it, but I think because they need a certain item, but They don't know where it is, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't think they acknowledge the item too, or like they even where like we need this one thing kind of stuff.
well, yeah, I think no, they did mention it once. Where in a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
we're like, okay, so we have because they need the staff, they need this other thing, or to do this sort of thing to help them rebuild their world or whatever, and you're kind of just like, okay, so it's that thing at the end of the day, and it's like when looking back at it, like that item was only shown maybe once, like before. So I think it's for some people it's like, a little hard to maybe follow that because heck, even when like some of the characters see her walking off with it, like not like one of them just like, oh, she's eating an apple, she's just hungry or whatever. No, and then like it's like another character's like, no, that thing is the super important thing that they need to do the evil plan thing or whatever they need to do for their plan kind of thing.
Yeah, because I was like, wait. I mean, there's a moment I was like, maybe this thing's important because we focus our camera onto it, but we never really acknowledge it afterwards.
Yeah, it's almost like one of those like blink and you miss it kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Which I will say, this movie definitely does a lot of like, the movie does a lot of setups for things later on in the movie.
Yeah,
like it's almost like a Chekhov's gun. Like if you want like a textbook example of what Chekhov's gun is, if you're like wanting to know about film terms and stuff, like this movie does it very well to an insane degree. Like there are some various moments where like they set something up and they pay it off later in the movie. One involving the youngest sister, the black one.
She has this sort of thing.
She has a thing involving Skittles, and let's just say, and a certain mythical creature, and it pays off. it pays off.
Yeah, it pays off a lot.
Yeah, So, that's I won't say much because I think it's probably one of the funniest parts of the movie, and two, it almost feels like weirdly branding.
It really is. It really is, considering how it turns out. But also, I was gonna say, that being a sort of a positive I gave the movie. I think some of the comedy of itself is just really good.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the best things that's carried over with this Shazam franchise is that, like, yeah, they sort of go all in the idea of like, oh yeah, Shazam is a kid who can turn himself into a superhero.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's work with that, and it still carries that very well, because obviously, when they're in their Shazam forms, they're pretty much like big kids.
Yeah, no, and they follow through with that. Actually, when I think about it, I think we see more of the adult version of the superheroes than we do the kid versions.
Yeah, and granted, I think that's partially because story wise, they're doing a lot of fighting and like superhero stuff. So yeah, they need to be in those forms a lot more. There are some like plot conveniences that allows them to like be more in their like just normal forms and like sort of like
especially what's his name, Freddy.
Yeah, Freddy.
Freddy is in the most, and granted, because he's one of the best characters in the movie.
I think he's like I agree with you. Like he's definitely one of the more important characters, as well as like I think he is probably out of all the actors, maybe the one like I think they're fine with having him be in his regular form the most. Yeah,
and that's not to say I don't think any of the child actors.
Yeah, and I don't think any of the other kid actors are bad. I don't think they no.
It's I think the story most is going to them focus on their adult versions, than their kid versions as well. But like. You're not missing much because like half of them act like the kid versions.
Yeah, so I feel like in a way, no, you're not like missing a whole lot out of them, right?
But like, but Freddy is still probably the best one out. He's probably the one that puts the most work into his acting, I guess.
Yeah, he gets a bit of a subplot in this movie that, I think it works well.
It's a little annoying towards the end.
I mean, the setup is already like, I won't lie, there's a bit of cringe involved a little bit, but I think that's more sort of like, okay, we've seen this sort of trope like over and over again. Let's move on here.
Yeah. Yeah, but towards the end, he has a very emotional like scene, and it's like, damn, that's some good acting.
Yeah, that's sort of I think the like the interesting thing about it.
Mm.
There's there's these weird cringy moments, but when like there's a moment like this, I think it's sort of like they let the actor actually act a bit.
Yeah.
Instead of just having to like go with the script, like, okay, yeah, no, all right, you got some chops here, kid.
Yeah, I can't wait to see more of you. And it ties in kind of well towards the end. My only issue is that there's a moment, and you were talking about earlier a controversial thing at the end. We're not gonna go that deep into it, but one, again, you're right, Chekhov's gun, because they set it up, paid off. Don't know how I feel about the payoff though.
Yeah, because it does involve the appearance of another superhero. Won't say who.
But you'll figure it out once you see it.
Yeah, like once you see the setup, it's like, okay, all right. So I'm guessing you are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, their appearance pretty much like gets everything. I wouldn't say like back to everything before it was, but like very much like you somehow fixed all the problems here.
Like you did like a Superman like reversing time kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just a weird moment, but I think that's probably maybe some of the reason why there might be a bit of mixed reactions to this movie is just that with that ending, because it feels more like something that you would see maybe in a post-credit scene, like in the original Shazam movie. Yeah. You have that scene where it's Shazam, Freddy, and Superman shows up at the end.
Yeah,
that have
something nice and fun.
Yeah.
But now you taking that scene and just like you blew it up.
You blew it up and put it in a actual important like resolution to the plot kind of thing.
Yeah, I had a very big problem because like the way it was presented. Like I'm not saying like if you were to do this exact scene, I would have hated it immediately. Like I think it could have been done a lot better, but the way it was presented, it's like, oh crap, here it comes. Here's the star quarterback. He comes out of nowhere. Even though he just broke his leg and caught the ball and somehow made the touchdown.
I don't know how you would throw the ball to the quarterback. He's the one throwing the ball.
Whatever.
No, it's like if Rudy, in the movie Rudy, right?
Yeah.
Like if he actually somehow, because this whole thing is that he's small.
Yeah.
Somehow he got super large and big and was able to just grab the ball and run to score the winning touchdown himself.
Like,
yeah. It's like, oh my God, Rudy, how did you get so big and strong? It's like, steroids.
That's it. It's just steroids, man.
Yeah, steroids. It's the 80s. No one cares.
No one cares. But yeah, no, it was very distracting in my opinion. I think it could have been done a lot better, but it's just the way it was presented. It's like the biggest thing ever. Like, holy shit. And it's just like, nah, okay, we're done here. Not to say like it ruined my liking of the movie, but it was just very much like I don't like where this went. But there were other aspects about the movie I really did. It still made me enjoy it. But there were like, it's totally understandable why some people would come out feeling very mixed towards it, and that scene being probably one of the best examples of it seeming like that. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else we can talk about?
Because I feel like we talked most about the positives. That the comedy is still great. I think the action was pretty good for the most part.
Yeah.
Kind of. I'm part of me is kind of disappointed. I don't think I see Lucy Liu do enough, like hand to hand stuff. Like her whole deal is that she's like I think her power is like chaos.
Yeah.
Like she can whisper things into people's ear and have them do whatever the hell she wants them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like.
It's cool at first, but then it's like,
Yeah, because she demonstrates it in like a weirdly like, almost kind of like creepy way in the first like couple minutes of the movie, where she just sort of whispers into a guy's ear and then like he attacks somebody, and then like passes that whisper on to him. It's like almost like a weird like mind zombie like virus thing, you know,
Yeah.
where it just causes people to just attack each other and spread it around, all that stuff. Like it's like that's creepy. And then for the rest of the movie, she's like, "Tell me where this person is," and it's like, "Oh, you know, like do this thing," and it's like. Like I guess it just fills your brain with chaotic thoughts sometimes, and you're forced to do it because it's like your brain can't handle it. But I don't know. I feel part of me was like wanted like to see Lucy Liu do more like action, like hand to hand stuff.
Like there's a lot more creative ways I think you could do with their powers.
Yeah, you know, like I don't know. I just feel like there could have been some interesting stuff because the other two daughters of Atlas do have interesting powers. Like one is able to like. Sort of like I think it's not magnetism, but it's like just controlling like space.
She's able to control the elements.
Yeah, she's able to control the elements, and she even is able to like create like.
And it's not like some Avatar shit where it's fire, earth, wind, water.
No, she just like straight up just
controls a lot of shit.
She just can do whatever. Like it's almost like she has like anything that's like she can just turn anything and like have it be like elemental. Like I think she can control like metal and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And the other one has like the power of Axis, which. Sounds weird, but it's basically like she can just like it's almost like when Doctor Strange enters the mirror dimension and you see all these buildings like doing like all these weird stuff. It's kind of like that, but she
can control it. Like the best way I would say it's like adjusting the position, and it may sound weird when I'm saying like if I'm facing you to the left, I might use my powers to make you facing it to my right.
Yeah, like I think it's like if you're like. It's almost like how you rotate things in like video games and stuff, you know, to like get better views. It's like that's what she's doing to certain objects. Like she'll rotate things and like move them into different positions and like stuff like that, you know. So, yeah, I mean, like it visually looks cool.
It does. It does. It's a very creative use of power too.
Yeah,
like it's one of those powers like. I don't know what that means, and then they show you like, oh.
Also, I will say, I think probably maybe like the last like thing worth noting, I find it very weird that okay, so the movie's set in Philadelphia, right?
Yeah.
So essentially the like climax, like the place where the climactic battle happens is the Philadelphia Phillies like ballpark.
Yeah.
And this is one of those other like Chekhov guns things because earlier in the movie, one of like there's characters watching a Phillies game, and then like one of the dudes, I think Pedro, right?
Yeah.
The kids like, oh, there's a Philly game on. I'm gonna go watch that real quick, you know. And then it's like in my brain, I'm like, okay, so they mentioned Phillies twice. I swear to God, because they're just like, oh, I shall commence my evil plan here in this location or whatever. I'll find a spot in the human world. And I'm like, I swear to God. If it's the Phillies ballpark, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I mean, it's just gonna be like, God damn it, that's a Chekhov.
And they show it off in the trailer too.
Yeah, I'm just like, all right. I mean, that's interesting because I don't know. In my brain, I'm like, I think this is the second time in a big movie where where the climactic, the start of the climactic showdown begins in a baseball park. Because the one I'm thinking about is Godzilla King of the Monsters, where
it was in Fenway Park.
It was in Fenway Park, the Boston Red Sox home park.
So and then there's Days of Future Past.
Wait, what bar park was that?
I don't remember, but it was.
I think it was a baseball field. I guess.
Yeah, it was a baseball field.
Why? That's just fucking weird. I don't know what to tell you. I just why is it that baseball fields are just perfect places for people to fight each other? I don't know. Also, I mean, I think I forgot to tell you this when we got out of the theater. I'm like, that's the second worst thing to happen at Citizens Bank Park since the Astros no-hit the Philadelphia Phillies in the World Series. Dude. I mean, what?
You saw the opening, you went for it.
Yeah, I went for it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, listen.
To go back to what you're saying, one thing I also noticed is that this is one of those DC films where it's still kind of lighthearted, but god damn, is there a lot of dark moments.
Yeah, that's... yeah, I think that's sort of the weird thing with just Shazam films, because it's like... They're still like... Because other than the first one, I think there's that scene. I think you told. We remember the lady grabs that door trying to escape, and she just turns to ash or whatever.
Yeah.
And
it's not even a quick death; it's a slow, painful one.
Yeah, it's like Jesus.
That shit.
Yeah, it's like Jesus Christ. And then this one, there's a scene that happens to a character that really didn't deserve it, right?
Oh no, he did not deserve shit.
Yeah, he was like a cool dude. He was like a cool teacher guy, and he gets just caught up in the whole like fight and like just like what the hell, bro?
He didn't do anything wrong.
They kill him off, but like you don't see it, but like you know
what happens.
You know what happens.
Especially when one of the characters makes like I wouldn't say a joke about it, but like makes a comment, man. It's like, oh, I know what happened, and like in my mind, I was like, man, imagine those kids coming to school tomorrow.
It's like, oh god, you know.
Yeah, like you'll know, and it's just like that is probably one of the darkest like death scenes I've seen in a while.
Yeah,
from like a superhero movie.
And I think what makes it dark is that you know the Shazam movies are very lighthearted. You know.
Yeah.
I think it's because like it makes those stand out. It's like, oh, okay, so the villains are like really bad,
really bad.
But you know, I don't know. Maybe it's still like the byproduct of it being still part of the DCEU. Yeah, you know,
we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
but they use it effectively. So then I guess that's probably the end of it. What would you rank it? What would your rating be?
So for the most part, I feel like I want to lean a bit towards like a 7.5 out of 10, simply because I think it does. It still has a lot of the charm from the original, and being able to balance like the action and the comedy and all that stuff. But there are just a lot of weird plot threads that just kind of go nowhere or get resolved very like oddly. You know, like it's very clear that the Daughters of Atlas storyline like is the bulk of the movie, obviously. But it feels like there could have been maybe a way of like having those like the plot of like Billy not wanting to be abandoned again and like wanting to keep his family together, like intertwined with like the Daughters of Atlas storyline. Like part of me feels like maybe they wanted to do like this thing where it's like, oh, Shazam's strength is his family, you know, while the Daughters of Atlas are undone because of their family disputes and how they can't get along or whatever. Yeah, but they don't really do that.
No, because it's only one person that they.
Yeah, there's only really one person that sort of like is like slightly more like, you know, vengeful than the other ones. Is willing to like go the extra mile, I guess. Yeah. And it's like, oh, calm down, all right, just simmer down here. We got a goal here. We don't need to like, you know, cause unnecessary stuff. But then I think about it, it's like, wait, didn't Helen Mirren just like straight up turn a bunch of people to stone and like possibly killing them all? Isn't that a little extreme? Yeah. I think about it, I feel like, whatever.
And there was never really like a moment where like and this is what I'm saying, like there was never really a moment where they had like a conflicting, you know, thing between them, right? Because especially with the beginning scene with the sisters, it's clearly obvious that like, you know, hey, they're the bad guys, like what they did, but there was never really much of a like, hey, we're not about that. We have a mission and we're gonna follow through. We're not those kind of people. And there's never really much for that. But yeah, if I were to give my rating, I kind of with you, though I would go more for a 7 because I feel like this movie is still pretty solid. It doesn't, you know, hit the marks that it should, that I feel like the first one really did. Because like the first one was, like I said, Billy finding his foster family and, you know, and knowing what it means to be a part of a family, while also acknowledging the dark thing that happened to him with his mother. But you know, still finding it, like, you know, the idea that, you know, of a found family, you know, your family is who you choose it to be, kind of stuff. And that to me made the most sense. And I really kind of and we kind of get a bit of that here, but I don't think it's as, you know, impactful or as useful as it. The ending cameo really annoyed me. Not like viscerally as I'm making it sound. It's more like, did we really have to do it like that?
Mm-hmm.
But there's also moments where I'm like, you know what? This is still enjoyable. I had a lot of laughs. The guy playing Freddie Freeman, really good actor. I really like him. I really want to see more of him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like where I stand, where it's a 7. And I think we both agree more of a 7.5 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's still a very solid film in the same way that we were like, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was pretty much fine. It wasn't that bad. But this one feels like so far it's kind of like And so I feel like we're kind of starting off pretty slow in this year's superhero movie department.
Yeah, or rather starting, you know. But no,
there's more to come.
Yeah, there's
We got Spider-Man.
Spider-Verse, yeah. That's gonna be
I'm excited for that.
It'll be fun. And Guardians 3.
Guardians 3, that looks good.
Yeah. That's probably going to be very good.
And everything else that DC's coming out with, I don't know yet.
Well, I mean, we got The Flash.
I hope that's good.
I love how we mentioned, like, wait, is there another DC movie coming? I'm like, oh, wait, Flash. The Flash is coming out. That's going to be...
I think Aquaman 2 is coming out, too.
Oh, yeah, I think Aquaman 2 is coming out. Which, to be fair, it should have come out a long time ago. But, yeah. But, yeah, I know. I think, overall, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, it's a fun movie. Is it better than the first one? Probably not. But I liked it for what it was. You know? I think that's about it, huh?
Yeah, and so I think that's a good place to end the episode. Just have to make sure there wasn't any other movies. I didn't have time to finalize that. But yeah, no, if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us at all social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And be sure to follow us on Instagram, we're most active on. We have a link to all podcasts. That's our official part of like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, all the likes. And we do have a Patreon for any form of support. We also have a YouTube for all your audio listeners out there. Be sure to comment, subscribe, all the good stuff you associate YouTube with. And yeah, that's about it. It's Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Pretty solid film. Watch it at your own accord. But yeah, it's been me, your boy Eli.
Give me Joe.
You guys have a good one. Peace.